Before we get started, please remember that this video is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and the decision to pursue an MBA is a significant financial one. This presentation is based on publicly available data, research, and my own analysis, but you should always conduct your own due diligence and consult with qualified professionals before making any investment in your education or career. Let me tell you about two people. We'll call them Jessica and Tom. 5 years ago, both were mid-level project managers at decent tech companies, both making around $90,000 a year. Both felt stuck. They saw the promotions, the big projects, the corner offices going to people with 3 little letters after their names. MBA. So they both decided to take the plunge and enroll in an online MBA program from a US university. They both worked their tails off for 2 years, juggling jobs, families, and endless case studies. Fast forward to today. Jessica is a director of product strategy at a globally recognized brand, earning over $250,000 a year. Her degree opened doors she never even knew existed. Tom is $120,000 in debt, and he's still a mid-level project manager, now making $95,000 a year. Same ambition, same starting point, same degree on paper, but a catastrophically different outcome. What was the difference? It wasn't that Jessica was smarter. It wasn't that Tom was lazy. The difference was the series of critical decisions they made before they ever clicked apply. And that is exactly why you are watching this video. You're standing at that same crossroads, looking at the glossy online brochures, the 6-figure price tags, and the promises of a life-changing career transformation. And you're asking the one question that matters more than any other. Is an online MBA from a US university actually worth it in today's economy? Or is it the most expensive mistake you could ever make? Forget the university marketing fluff. Forget the LinkedIn gurus selling you a dream. Over the next 10 parts, we are going to do a brutally honest, no-holds-barred breakdown of the online MBA. This isn't about giving you a simple yes or no. It's about giving you a bulletproof framework to decide if it's the right move for you, your career, and your bank account. We will dissect the 5 critical pillars that determine your success or failure. First, the money. We'll break down the real cost, the hidden fees, and the actual return on investment you can expect. Second, the network. Is it possible to build a multi-million-dollar network through a webcam, or is it a total myth? Third, the brand. Does the name on your digital diploma actually matter to recruiters, or are you just paying for a JPEG? Fourth, the curriculum. What do you really learn, and will it make you a better leader or just better at talking like one? And finally, the dark side. We'll expose the predatory practices, the diploma mills, and the red flags you absolutely must avoid. By the end of this series, you won't just have an answer. You'll have a personalized roadmap to making the single biggest investment in your professional life. So let's start with the one thing everyone wants to know about first, the money. Let's talk numbers. The sticker shock is real. The average cost of an online MBA from a top 25 ranked US business school is now hovering around $145,000. Let me say that again, $145,000. That's for a program where you may never even set foot on campus. Programs from schools like Carnegie Mellon's Tepper School or UNC's Keenan-Flagler Business School can easily push past that number. Even highly respected state university programs, like the ones from the University of Florida or Indiana University, can run you between $60,000 and $90,000. And that's just tuition. That number doesn't include the $1,000 for digital textbooks and software licenses. It doesn't include the mandatory residency weekends, where you have to fly across the country, pay for a hotel, and eat overpriced convention center food, adding another $5 to $10 grand to your total bill. When you add it all up, you are looking at an investment equivalent to a down payment on a house in a major city, or the full price of a house in many others. This immediately brings up the concept of return on investment, or ROI. Every business school loves to sell you on their ROI. They'll flash statistics on their websites showing a 30%, 50%, or even 100% salary increase for their graduates within 3 years. And for some, that's absolutely true. But average is a very dangerous word. It's a number that hides the winners and the losers. The real ROI isn't just about a salary bump. It's about your payback period. If you take out $100,000 in loans for your degree, and you get a $30,000 raise, how long does it take to actually break even, especially after taxes and interest? For many, that payback period can be 5, 7, even 10 years. During that time, that loan is a weight on your financial life, impacting your ability to buy a home, save for retirement, or invest in other opportunities. And that brings us to the biggest hidden cost of all, opportunity cost. The time you spend studying, those 10, 15, 20 hours a week, is time you're not spending on other things. You're not starting a side hustle. You're not getting an industry certification that might cost a fraction of the price but yield a similar pay bump. You're not spending that time with your family, or just decompressing from your already demanding job, which can lead to burnout. The financial calculation has to be ruthless. Will this specific degree from this specific school at this specific price generate a return that significantly outperforms what you could do with that money and time invested elsewhere? The truth is, the financial outcome of an online MBA is wildly divergent. It depends entirely on your starting point and your destination. If you're an engineer trying to pivot into management at a top tech firm, a degree from a top-tier school like Michigan Ross or USC Marshall might be the golden ticket that unlocks a six-figure salary increase, making the massive price tag a brilliant investment. The brand recognition and powerful alumni network, which we'll discuss later, can provide a clear and demonstrable return. However, if you're already a marketing manager at a mid-sized company, and you're just looking for a slight edge to become a senior marketing manager, enrolling in that same $150,000 program is financial insanity. A $40,000 program from a reputable, accredited state university could achieve the exact same result, allowing you to see a positive return in just a couple of years instead of a decade. The most dangerous territory is the for-profit online university sector. These are the schools you see advertised everywhere. They promise flexibility, speed, and an accessible path to the MBA. Some of these programs can cost as much as a good state school, but they often lack regional accreditation, brand recognition, and a strong alumni network. This is where people like Tom get into trouble. They pay a premium price for a degree that, in the eyes of many corporate recruiters, holds very little weight. They end up with all of the debt and none of the career acceleration. They bought the promise, but they didn't understand the underlying value of the brand they were buying into. So the first step in your framework is to ignore the average salary claims and do a cold, hard financial analysis of your own situation. What is your current salary? What is the realistic salary for the specific job you want next? Not a dream job, the next job. How much of a gap is there? And will a degree from Program X at cost Y verifiably bridge that gap in a reasonable amount of time? Answering this question honestly is the first filter. It will immediately eliminate 80% of the programs out there for you, and it might even tell you that an MBA isn't the right path at all. But money and salary are only one piece of this complex puzzle, because the schools don't just sell you a salary bump, they sell you something far more intangible, far more powerful, and far more difficult to achieve online: a world-class network. Can you really build career-changing relationships through a screen? That's where the promise of the online MBA truly gets put to the test. Let's be brutally honest. The idea of building a powerful, life-changing network through a laptop screen feels, well, a little absurd. We've all been on those awkward Zoom happy hours. We know the hollow echo of a virtual conference. It's easy to dismiss online networking as a pale imitation of the real thing. The casual coffee chats, the late-night study sessions in the library, the impromptu conversations that spark a new venture. For decades, the core value proposition of a top-tier MBA wasn't just the diploma. It was the Rolodex. It was the who you know. You weren't just buying an education. You were buying access to a tribe, an elite club of future leaders. So, when a university takes that experience and puts it online, what's left? Is it just a collection of video lectures and a very expensive piece of paper? This is the number one fear. The biggest point of skepticism for anyone considering an online MBA. And it's a valid one. If you can't replicate that networking magic, the entire value proposition starts to crumble. But here's what the critics, and frankly, what most people don't understand. Top-tier online MBA programs aren't trying to replicate the on-campus experience. They're engineering a new one built from the ground up for a digital, globalized world. And in some ways, it can be even more powerful. It starts with something called the cohort model. This isn't a free-for-all where you just sign up for random classes. From day one, you are placed into a specific group of students, your cohort, and you move through the entire 2 or 3 year program with these same people. Your cohort becomes your team, your support system, your professional family. These aren't just random faces in a virtual classroom. They are the same faces you see week after week in your live synchronous classes. And let's talk about those classes. Forget the stereotype of passively watching a pre-recorded lecture. The best programs run on intensive live sessions. We're talking about Socratic method discussions led by the same world-renowned professors who teach on campus. But the real magic happens in the breakout rooms. The professor poses a complex business problem, a real-world case study from Harvard Business Review, and you're suddenly in a virtual room with 4 or 5 of your classmates. There's nowhere to hide. You have to engage, you have to debate, you have to defend your position. In that small focus group, you're not just a student, you're a professional peer. You're working with a marketing director from Nike in Portland, a software engineer from Google in Austin, a military officer transitioning to civilian life from a base in Germany, and a surgeon from the Cleveland Clinic. The diversity of experience isn't just a buzzword. It's a strategic advantage baked into the learning process. You're not just learning from the professor, you're learning from the real-world expertise of the people on your team. You quickly learn who's a strategic thinker, who's a quantitative genius, and who can rally the team when a project is going off the rails. This leads to the second pillar of online networking: high-stakes group projects. These are not your undergrad book reports. This is a relentless, program-long gauntlet of collaborative work. You'll spend dozens, if not hundreds, of hours on late-night video calls, in shared documents, and on Slack channels with your project teams. You're building financial models together at 11 p.m. You're debating marketing strategies for a new product launch. You're co-writing a 40-page report for a notoriously tough professor. This shared struggle creates a unique and powerful bond, a kind of professional foxhole camaraderie. You build trust not over beers but over balance sheets. You build respect not in a classroom, but in the trenches of a complex consulting project. You truly get to know your classmates' work ethic, their problem-solving skills, and their character under pressure. This is a far deeper level of connection than you might get from a casual chat at a campus mixer. You don't just know what they do for a living, you know how they think, how they work, and whether you can count on them when the pressure is on. That's the kind of knowledge that builds a network you can actually rely on for the rest of your career. But the most powerful piece of the puzzle, the one that shatters the myth of a purely virtual experience, is the immersion. The best online MBA programs don't just keep you online, they require you to show up. These aren't optional meetups. They are mandatory for credit, in-person residencies. You might spend a week on the main campus in Boston or Ann Arbor, finally meeting your cohort face-to-face and working side-by-side in the same lecture halls as the full-time students. Or you might fly to Silicon Valley for a week-long trek, focused on technology and venture capital, meeting with executives at top firms and presenting your own startup ideas. Or maybe it's a global immersion in Shanghai or Dubai, studying supply chain management or international finance on the ground. These immersions are the glue that solidifies the entire network. The digital relationships you've spent months building suddenly become tangible. The person you only knew as a tiny square on your screen is now the person you're grabbing dinner with, sharing stories, and realizing you have a real, personal connection with. All the inside jokes from your Slack channel, all the shared stress from that brutal finance midterm, it all comes to life. It transforms your cohort from a list of contacts into a group of genuine friends and allies. Suddenly, that marketing director from Nike isn't just a classmate. She's someone who can give you the inside scoop on a role opening up in her division. That engineer from Google isn't just a project partner. He's the guy who can make a warm introduction to a venture capitalist he knows. This creates a fundamentally different kind of network. An on-campus program gives you an incredibly deep network in 1 or 2 major cities, wherever most graduates tend to settle. An online program gives you an incredibly broad network. It's a distributed network that spans the entire country, and often the entire globe. In today's world of remote work and decentralized teams, this is a superpower. You have a trusted contact in virtually every major industry and every major metropolitan area in the United States. You're one phone call away from on-the-ground intelligence in Seattle, Houston, Chicago, or Miami. It's a modern network for a modern economy. So, can you build career-changing relationships through a screen? The answer is an emphatic yes. It's not the same. It's different. It requires more intentionality. You have to make the effort to schedule one-on-one virtual coffees. You have to be an active participant, not a passive observer. But the structures are in place, the cohorts, the live sessions, the intense group work, the in-person immersions, to forge connections that are just as strong, if not stronger and more professionally relevant, than their on-campus equivalents. The network isn't a watered-down version of the real thing. It's a new, more geographically diverse and intentionally built model. But let's be real. A powerful network is ultimately a means to an end. It's about career progression. It's about opportunity. It's about the bottom line. So the real question becomes, does this new kind of network actually deliver? Does an online MBA graduate get the same shot at the best jobs? Do the big-name companies, the McKinseys, the Goldman Sachs, the Amazons of the world recruit from online programs with the same vigor? Or is there still a glass ceiling? A subtle bias that separates the on-campus elite from their online counterparts when it comes to landing that dream job? The answer to that is where the value of this degree truly meets the pavement. Let's be brutally honest. For a long time, the answer was a resounding no. In the hallowed halls of traditional corporate recruiting, an online degree was often seen as the mail-order bride of the academic world. It was viewed with suspicion, a credential that lacked the rigor, the intensity, and most importantly, the network of a real MBA. Recruiters from top-tier consulting firms and Wall Street investment banks, who built their entire talent pipeline on campus at a handful of elite schools, would quietly slide a resume with the word online into the no pile. It wasn't necessarily malicious. It was a system built on familiarity. They knew the on-campus product. They trusted the crucible of late-night study sessions, in-person case competitions, and the spontaneous connections forged over coffee. The online student was an unknown variable, a ghost in the machine. But the world has undergone a seismic shift. That old way of thinking is dying, and it's being replaced by two distinct, and often competing, philosophies in the corporate world. Think of it as the old guard versus the new guard. The old guard still exists. These are the legacy institutions, the century-old investment banks, the white shoe law firms, and the most conservative of the Fortune 500. For them, tradition is a feature, not a bug. Their hiring processes are deeply entrenched in on-campus recruiting cycles at M7 and top 20 schools. They value the finishing school aspect of a full-time, residential MBA. They believe that true leadership skills, the subtle art of negotiation, and the ability to command a room are forged in the fire of face-to-face interaction. For these companies, an online MBA, even from a great school, can still face an uphill battle. They might not say it out loud, but the bias can linger. They wonder, did you really build the same kind of network? Did you get the same immersive experience? It's a culture of pedigree where the how and where you earn the degree can sometimes matter as much as the degree itself. If your dream is to land a hyper-competitive, post-MBA associate role at McKinsey or Goldman Sachs, a traditional full-time program from a top-tier university remains the most direct and well-trodden path. It's not impossible from an online program, but it is undeniably harder. You're not just breaking into a company. You're breaking into a culture that was built to exclude you. But then there's the new guard. And this is where the entire game changes. The new guard isn't just one industry. It's a mindset. It's the entire tech sector, from FAANG companies to the hungriest startups. It's the forward-thinking C-suites in retail, healthcare, and logistics. These companies are run by pragmatists, not traditionalists. They are fighting a global war for talent, and they frankly don't care if you earned your degree in a lecture hall or in your home office at 2 a.m. after putting your kids to bed. What do they care about? Results. Skills. Can you code? Can you manage a P&L? Can you lead a remote team scattered across 3 continents? Can you analyze a dataset and present a compelling strategy? For the new guard, an online MBA student isn't a lesser candidate. In many ways, they are the ideal candidate. Think about the traits required to succeed in a top online program. You have to be an absolute master of time management. You have to be a self-starter, intrinsically motivated without a professor looking over your shoulder. You have to be an expert in digital communication and virtual collaboration. These aren't just study skills. These are the most in-demand corporate skills of the 21st century. The pandemic didn't create this trend. It just put it on hyperspeed. Suddenly, every company on earth had to learn how to operate remotely. The skills that online MBA students had been quietly mastering for years became the new corporate gold standard. The online MBA graduate went from being an outlier to being the prototype of the modern, resilient employee. And here's the most critical piece of the puzzle, the factor that can bridge the gap between the old guard and the new guard: the brand of the university. This cannot be overstated. An online MBA from the University of North Carolina's Keenan-Flagler Business School, Carnegie Mellon's Tepper School, or Indiana's Kelley School of Business is a completely different universe from an online MBA from a for-profit, nationally accredited diploma mill. The top universities have invested hundreds of millions of dollars to ensure their online curriculum is just as rigorous. Their faculty is the same world-class staff teaching on campus, and their admission standards are just as selective. And here's the secret they don't always advertise. When you graduate, your diploma doesn't say Online Master of Business Administration. It says, Master of Business Administration. You are an alumnus of the University of Southern California. Period. You have access to the same powerful Global Trojan alumni network as someone who lived on campus. That brand name on your resume acts as a powerful signal, a stamp of quality that overrides much of the old world skepticism. It tells a recruiter from the old guard, this isn't some random online degree, this is a Pre-MBA. We know what that means. Let's ground this in reality. Imagine a hiring manager at a company like Amazon or Microsoft. They have two resumes. Both candidates have 10 years of solid work experience in project management. Candidate A took 2 years off work to get a full-time MBA from a top 40 school. Candidate B kept their job, got promoted twice, and earned their MBA online from a top 20 school. Who is more impressive? For the new guard, it's often candidate B. They didn't just learn business theory, they applied it in real time. They can walk into an interview and say, last semester I took a course on supply chain optimization. I immediately used that framework to redesign our inventory process at my current job, saving the company $2 million. Here's how I did it. That is a story that no classroom-only case study can compete with. It's proof of immediate, tangible value. The final ghost we have to bust is the myth of networking. The critique has always been that you can't build a real network through a computer screen. And it's true, you won't be grabbing beers with your classmates after a tough midterm. But the networking in top online programs has evolved into something different, and in some ways more powerful. It's more intentional. Your classmates aren't just 26-year-olds from a similar background. They are 35-year-old directors of marketing in New York, 42-year-old operations managers in Texas, and 38-year-old entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. They are active mid to senior level professionals in a vast array of industries. The connections you make are not just with future colleagues, but with current industry leaders. And the programs facilitate this with immersive on-campus residencies, international study trips, and dedicated virtual platforms that are far more sophisticated than a simple Zoom call. You learn the crucial skill of building relationships with people you don't see every day, the very definition of modern business. So, when we look at the perception of employers today, it's not a single image, it's a split screen. On one side, a shrinking island of traditionalists who still value the old way. On the other, a rapidly expanding continent of pragmatic, results-oriented companies who see the online MBA graduate for what they are. A proven, disciplined, and modern leader. The name on the degree opens the door, but it's the skills, the experience, and the sheer grit it took to earn it that will get you the job. But perception is one thing. The ultimate question of worth always comes down to the numbers. The cold, hard return on investment. What does the data actually say about salary increases, promotions, and long-term career trajectory for online MBA graduates compared to their on-campus peers? Are students really seeing that coveted post-MBA pay bump? Or are they just paying a premium for a line on their resume? The spreadsheets, as they say, don't lie. So let's pull up those spreadsheets. Let's crunch the numbers and get to the cold, hard truth of the return on investment. When you strip away the fancy brochures and the aspirational marketing, what does the financial data actually tell us? The first number everyone wants to know is the salary bump, the big payoff. And here the data is, well, it's surprisingly positive. A 2023 report from U.S. News found that graduates of their top-ranked online MBA programs saw their salaries increase by an average of 35% just 3 months after graduation. Let's put that in real terms. If you were making $80,000 a year as a mid-level manager before you started your program, a 35% bump means you're now earning $108,000. That's an extra $28,000 a year. That's a new car payment, a bigger mortgage payment, a serious boost to your retirement savings every single year. Now the skeptics will immediately jump in and say, okay, but how does that compare to the full-time on-campus programs? It's a fair question. And the answer is, it's close. Frighteningly close. The Graduate Management Admission Council, or GMAC, consistently reports that on campus, full-time MBA grads see a salary increase that hovers around 40 to 50%. So yes, on paper, the on-campus degree gives you a slightly higher immediate percentage jump. A few percentage points more. But that single statistic is a master of deception. It hides the single most important variable in the entire equation. It's the elephant in the room that can make a $10,000 salary difference look like pocket change. I'm talking about opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the ghost haunting every full-time MBA student. It's the 2 years of salary they didn't earn while they were sitting in a classroom. Let's run a hypothetical. Meet Alex, a full-time student at a top 20 program. Alex leaves a job paying $90,000 a year. Over 2 years, that's $180,000 in lost income. Gone. Plus, Alex is paying $140,000 in tuition. So before earning a single post-MBA dollar, Alex is $320,000 in the hole. Now let's meet Jordan, an online MBA student at the very same university. Jordan keeps that $90,000 a year job. There is no lost income. Zero. Jordan pays the same $140,000 in tuition, but that's the entire cost. So Jordan graduates with a debt of $140,000. Alex graduates with a debt and opportunity cost totaling $320,000. That's a $180,000 head start for the online student before the race has even begun. So when Alex gets that 45% pay bump to roughly $130,000 a year, and Jordan gets the slightly smaller 35% bump to $121,000, who is actually winning financially? It's not even a contest. Jordan is light years ahead. It will take Alex years, maybe even a decade, just to catch up to Jordan's starting line. This is the killer app of the Online MBA. The ability to learn and earn simultaneously isn't just a convenience. It is a monumental financial advantage that fundamentally changes the ROI calculation. But it gets even better for the online student, because many of them aren't waiting until graduation to see that pay bump. Think about it. You're in a digital marketing class on Tuesday night, learning about advanced SEO strategies. On Wednesday morning, you walk into your marketing job and implement those exact strategies. Your boss notices. Your team sees results. You're not just a student. You're an immediate asset, applying classroom theory in real time. This leads to what I call in-program promotions. A 2021 study by the Online MBA report found that a staggering 54% of online MBA students received a promotion while they were still enrolled in their program. They didn't have to wait 2 years. They got the raise, the new title, the increased responsibility right then and there. That promotion doesn't just increase their salary. It helps them pay down their tuition while they're still studying, further accelerating their ROI. And then there's the ultimate financial cheat code: employer tuition reimbursement. This is far more common for part-time and online students because the company sees a direct, immediate benefit. They aren't losing you for 2 years, they're upgrading you. Companies like Deloitte, Apple, and Bank of America have robust tuition assistance programs, often paying anywhere from $5,000 to over $10,000 per year. Some, particularly in defense and aerospace, will cover the entire cost. If you can get your employer to foot a significant portion of the bill, the ROI of an online MBA becomes almost infinite. You're getting a 6-figure education and the subsequent salary boost for the price of a used car, or maybe even for free. Suddenly, the debate isn't about whether it's worth it. The only question is, how fast can I sign up? Of course, we have to address the price tag because it varies wildly. You can find accredited online MBA programs from reputable state universities for under $25,000. At the other end of the spectrum, you have the elite players: Michigan's Ross, UNC's Keenan Flagler, Carnegie Mellon's Tepper, with online programs that will set you back well over $140,000. So is paying 6 times more for a big-name brand worth it? The answer is, it depends entirely on your goals. If you're already in a stable industry and looking to move up within your current company or a similar one, that $25,000 MBA from a school like the University of Florida or the University of Illinois can be an absolute powerhouse of value. Checks the box, gives you the core business acumen, and provides an incredible ROI. The payback period could be less than 2 years. But if you are a career switcher, trying to pivot from, say, engineering into management consulting, or from marketing into investment banking, the brand name on your diploma acts as a key. The elite consulting firms and Wall Street banks have what's called a target school list. They primarily recruit from a handful of top-tier universities. For them, a degree from UNC carries significantly more weight than one from a lesser-known regional school, even if the core curriculum is 80% the same. That $140,000 price tag isn't just for education. It's an access fee. It's buying you a ticket to their exclusive recruiting events and a much higher chance of getting your resume past the initial screening software. For these career switchers, the higher tuition can be justified because it unlocks a career path with a much higher salary ceiling, potentially making the ROI even greater in the long run, despite the massive initial cost. The financial breakdown also shifts dramatically depending on your industry. For someone going into the tech sector, where skills and agility are paramount, An online MBA with a specialization in data analytics or product management can yield an immediate and massive return. They can apply their new skills instantly and command a premium. For someone in a more traditional field like manufacturing or even healthcare administration, the gains might be slower but steadier, tied more to promotions and seniority over time. And for those in the nonprofit or public sector, the financial ROI is often much lower. The value there is less about a huge salary jump and more about gaining the management skills to run an organization more effectively, where the return is measured in impact, not just dollars. So, when you lay out all the numbers, the financial case for the online MBA is not just strong, it's often overwhelming. When you factor in the elimination of opportunity cost, the potential for in-program promotions, and the availability of employer reimbursement, the spreadsheets don't just talk, they sing. For a huge swath of working professionals, it is, without a doubt, the most financially rational path to an MBA. It minimizes risk while capturing the majority of the financial upside. The numbers look good, maybe even great. But an MBA has always been sold on one, almost mythical promise. A promise that can't be captured in a spreadsheet. A value proposition built not on discounted cash flows, but on human connection. I'm talking about the network, the lifelong bonds, the handshake deals forged over late-night study sessions and campus recruiting events. Can a series of Zoom calls and discussion boards ever truly replicate that? Or is the online MBA network just a ghost of the real thing? Let's be brutally honest. No, a series of Zoom calls and discussion boards cannot perfectly replicate the magic of a full-time, on-campus experience. It's a different beast entirely, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you something. The serendipity of bumping into a future co-founder at the campus coffee shop, the late-night bonding over a brutal case study in the library, the energy of a packed auditorium for a guest speaker from Google. Those are unique, powerful moments. And if those specific experiences are the only thing you want from an MBA, then an online program might not be for you. But here's the multi-million-dollar question we're really asking. Does different automatically mean worse? Or could it, for a certain type of person in a certain type of career, actually be better? The biggest mistake people make is trying to judge the online MBA network by the rules of the on-campus game. It's like trying to judge a Formula One car on its ability to go off-roading. It's built for a different track. The on-campus network is built on proximity and shared physical space. The online network is built on something far more powerful in the 21st century: intentionality and access. Think about it. In a traditional program, your network is, by default, geographically limited. You're mingling with people who are able and willing to move to Ann Arbor or Chapel Hill or Bloomington for 2 years. That's a fantastic group, but it's a specific filter. Now, picture your online MBA cohort. In your virtual breakout room for a marketing project, you have a product manager calling in from her office at Salesforce in San Francisco. The person leading the financial model is a senior analyst for Goldman Sachs in New York. The woman handling the presentation is a brand strategist for Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati. And the fourth member is a U.S. military officer stationed in Germany. Suddenly, your network isn't just a group of smart people in one college town. It's a living, breathing, global map of top-tier talent. You're not just learning about supply chain theory, you're on a call with someone who is literally managing a global supply chain for Amazon that day, and can tell you how the theory you just read about is breaking down in the real world right now. This isn't a hypothetical. This is the standard online MBA classroom. The diversity of industry, function, and geography is simply on a level that most on-campus programs can't touch. But how do you actually build relationships with these people? This is where intentionality comes in. You don't have the crutch of a campus bar to do the work for you. You have to be deliberate. And this, counterintuitively, is a massive strength. It filters for the people who are genuinely serious about connecting. Every connection you make is one you chose to make. You schedule a 30-minute virtual coffee chat with that analyst from Goldman Sachs because you're genuinely interested in their career path. You stay on the Zoom call after the project meeting to talk shop with the product manager from Salesforce. You join the dedicated Slack channel for students interested in venture capital and actively contribute. This is a professional network, forged through professional means. It's less about finding drinking buddies and more about finding future board members, investors, and expert advisors. And it forces you to develop a skill that is absolutely critical for career success in the modern world: the ability to build rapport and trust with people you've never shaken hands with. This brings us to a fascinating sociological concept: the strength of weak ties. Research by Stanford professor Mark Granovetter found that when it comes to finding new opportunities like jobs, it's not our close friends, our strong ties, who are most helpful. It's our acquaintances, our weak ties. Why? Because our close friends travel in the same circles we do. They know the same people, the same information. Your weak ties, however, are bridges to entirely different worlds. They have access to information and opportunities you would never encounter otherwise. A full-time MBA is incredible for building a small number of lifelong super strong ties. Your 5-person study group might be at your wedding, but an online MBA is an engine for creating a vast, geographically dispersed, and industrially diverse web of weak ties. That classmate in Germany might hear about an opening at a startup in Berlin that's perfect for you. That acquaintance from New York might know a recruiter at a private equity firm you've been dying to get into. The sheer breadth of the network is its superpower. Okay, but what about the big one? The alumni network. The legendary door-opening power of a top-tier school's brand. Surely that's diluted for online students, right? Wrong. This is probably the single biggest misconception out there. When you graduate from the Online MBA program at the University of Michigan, your diploma does not say Online MBA. It says Master of Business Administration from the Stephen M. Ross School of Business. You are a Michigan alum. Period. You get the same access to the same alumni database of hundreds of thousands of graduates around the world. Let me paint a picture for you. You want to pivot into a strategy role at Microsoft in Seattle. You log into the UNC Keenan Flagler alumni portal. You filter for Microsoft and Seattle. 50 names pop up. You find a director of corporate strategy who graduated 10 years ago. You send them an email with the subject line, "Fellow Tar Heel seeking advice." What do you think the response rate is to that email versus a cold message on LinkedIn? It's night and day. That shared identity, that university brand, is a key that unlocks conversations. And online MBA graduates get the exact same key as everyone else. The value of that brand and that database is identical. You are a full member of the club. Now let's not sugarcoat it. Building this network takes work. It's not passive. If you're the type of person who plans to log in for lectures, do the bare minimum on group projects, and log off, you will feel isolated. You will graduate with a degree, but you will have squandered the network. The opportunities are there, but you have to seize them. You have to be the one to schedule the Zoom call. You have to be the one to post an interesting article in the Slack channel. You have to be the one to organize a virtual happy hour for your project team. The program provides the platform, you have to provide the energy. And top universities know this. They understand the challenge of building community online, so they've engineered a brilliant solution. The immersion. Most elite online MBA programs now have mandatory in-person residencies. These are intense, weekend-long events held on campus or in major business hubs like New York, London, or Hong Kong. This is the secret weapon of the Online MBA. For a year, you've been working with these people. You've seen their kids wander into the background of their Zoom calls. You've debated strategy with them until midnight. You know their professional strengths and weaknesses intimately. You've built a solid foundation of professional respect. Then, you all fly in and meet in person for the first time. The effect is electric. All of that pre-established rapport instantly deepens into genuine personal connection. You're not starting from zero with awkward small talk. You're meeting respected colleagues who already feel like friends. These immersion weekends are where the strong ties are forged, cementing the vast web of weak ties you've been building online. It's the best of both worlds. The scale and diversity of a global online platform, supercharged by the focused intensity of in-person bonding. So, is the Online MBA network a ghost of the real thing? No. It's a different species of network, evolved for a different environment. It's global, not local. It's intentional, not accidental. It's a professional tool, sharpened for career advancement in a distributed world. It may have fewer late-night parties, but it's packed with something far more valuable for a working professional: direct access to a global Rolodex of industry leaders. The real question isn't whether the network is good, but whether you have the discipline and drive to build it. Because if you do, the next logical question is, what does that network actually do for your career? Can it really get you that promotion or help you land that dream job? What do the employment reports actually say? This is where the rubber meets the road. We've talked about the classes, the flexibility, the networking, but none of that matters if it doesn't translate into real-world results. Cold, hard cash and career progression. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the numbers. What do the employment reports from top-tier US online MBA programs actually reveal? Let's start with the headline grabber: salary. Schools like Indiana's Kelley Direct and UNC's MBA at UNC consistently report that their graduates see a significant salary bump. We're not talking about a small cost of living adjustment. We're talking about an average salary increase of around 30 to 40% from the time they started the program to just a few months after graduation. Let that sink in. For someone making $80,000 a year, that's a jump to over $110,000. For someone starting at $120,000, that's a leap to over $165,000. These aren't just numbers on a page. They are life-altering financial shifts. But here's the crucial detail that separates the online MBA from its full-time counterpart. For a huge portion of these students, that salary increase didn't come from finding a new job. It came from a promotion or a raise at the company they were already working for. This is the killer app of the online MBA. You don't have to quit your job, lose 2 years of income and seniority, and then hope to re-enter the workforce at a higher level. Instead, you are actively increasing your value to your current employer in real time. Think about it. You take a class on corporate finance. The next week at work, there's a discussion about capital allocation for a new project. Suddenly, you're not just nodding along. You're the one talking about net present value and internal rate of return. You're asking intelligent questions that show you understand the financial implications of the decision. Your boss notices. Her boss notices. You're no longer just the marketing manager. You're the marketing manager who understands the P&L. You're demonstrating your new value proposition every single day. That is an incredibly powerful position to be in when it comes time for performance reviews and promotion decisions. This leads directly to the second major data point: promotions. The top programs report that a majority of their students, often over 60%, receive a promotion while they are still enrolled in the program or within 6 months of graduating. This is a staggering statistic. It shatters the myth that an online degree is something you quietly earn on the side and only deploy once it's finished. The most successful online MBA students use their program as a 2 to 3 year-long job interview for the next level. Imagine you're an engineer who wants to move into management. Your company values your technical skills, but they see you as an individual contributor. In your online MBA, you take a class on leadership and organizational behavior. You learn about motivating teams, managing conflict, and leading change initiatives. You immediately start applying these frameworks in your project team. You volunteer to lead a small-scale initiative, using the models you just learned in class. You start speaking the language of management. You are actively, visibly transforming yourself from a doer into a leader. When a team lead position opens up, who do you think they're going to consider? The great engineer who might be a good manager, or the great engineer who has spent the last year proving she knows how to be a great manager? The MBA gives you the tools and the credibility to make that internal leap. But what about the career switchers? What if you're not looking for a promotion? What if you want a total reset? You're in accounting but you dream of being a brand manager. You're in logistics but you want to break into tech as a product manager. This, admittedly, is where the online MBA faces its toughest challenge. The traditional, full-time MBA has a built-in advantage here: the summer internship. It's a low-risk 3-month trial run for both the student and a new company in a new industry. Without that structured internship, the online MBA career switcher has to be more creative, more disciplined, and more proactive. It is absolutely harder, but it is far from impossible. In fact, employment reports show a significant number of graduates, often around a third, successfully use the program to change industries or job functions. So how do they do it? They don't rely on a single silver bullet like an internship. They use a whole arsenal of tools. First, they leverage the network we talked about earlier, but with surgical precision. They don't just network. They identify alumni in their target companies and industries and conduct dozens of informational interviews. They use class projects as an excuse to connect with and solve problems for companies they want to work for. Second, they use their current job as a laboratory. The accountant who wants to be a brand manager volunteers for a cross-functional project with the marketing team. She uses her finance skills to help them build a better budget for a product launch, gaining exposure and experience. She's building a bridge from her old career to her new one plank at a time. And third, they lean heavily on the school's career services. This is a resource that many online students tragically underutilize. The career services at a top program are not just a resume-checking service. They are professional strategists. They offer one-on-one coaching to help you craft your story. They run mock interviews, including highly specialized and technical case interviews for consulting and tech. They have dedicated staff building relationships with employers who are open to hiring from their online talent pool. They host virtual career fairs and recruiting events. But they don't spoon-feed you. They provide the infrastructure, but you have to show up and do the work. The successful career switchers live in the career services office, metaphorically speaking. Of course, these glowing outcomes aren't universal. The value you extract is directly proportional to two things: the quality of the program and the quality of your effort. A degree from a top 20 ranked university with a global brand and a massive alumni network is simply going to open more doors than a degree from a lesser-known, for-profit institution. The brand on the diploma still matters immensely. It's a signal to employers about the rigor of your education, the quality of your peers, and the power of the network you now belong to. And even at a top school, your individual outcome depends on you. It depends on your pre-MBA work experience, your clarity of purpose, and your willingness to hustle. The MBA is not a passive credential you acquire. It is an active lever you have to pull. The students who see those 30, 40, or even 100% salary increases are the ones who show up to every virtual networking event, who take on leadership roles in student clubs, who build genuine relationships with their classmates and professors, and who immediately apply what they're learning on the job. So the data is clear. For the motivated student in a high-quality program, the career outcomes of an online MBA are not just a consolation prize. They are real, they are substantial, and they are, for many, the perfect way to accelerate their career without stepping off the gas. The potential for a massive return is there, printed in black and white in the employment reports. But this brings us to the elephant in the room. This potential comes with a staggering price tag. We're talking about an investment that can easily rival the cost of a new house in many parts of the country. So how do you weigh these impressive potential outcomes against that cold, hard, six-figure reality? How do you calculate the true return on investment for your specific situation? Let's start by being brutally honest. Calculating the return on investment for an MBA isn't like calculating the return on a stock. You can't just plug numbers into a spreadsheet and get a definitive black and white answer. This is a life decision wrapped in a financial decision, wrapped in a career decision. It's complex, it's personal, and anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. But that doesn't mean we can't build a powerful framework to get you incredibly close to the right answer for you. First, we have to define the I in ROI, the investment. The sticker price is the obvious starting point. We've talked about it, from a manageable $30,000 or $40,000 for some solid-state university programs, all the way up to that breathtaking $250,000 territory for the elite M7 schools. That's your baseline. But stopping there is the first and biggest mistake people make. The true cost is always higher. You need to factor in technology. Your 5-year-old laptop that can barely handle Zoom is not going to cut it when you're running data simulations and collaborating on massive case study files. So budget for a new computer. Budget for high-speed internet. Budget for software licenses that aren't covered by the university. Then there are the books and materials. While many resources are digital, specialized textbooks and case study packets can still cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars over the course of the program. And what about those optional in-person immersions or residencies? They are often the most valuable networking parts of an online program, but that's a plane ticket, a hotel, and a week of meals you need to pay for out of pocket. Add it all up. But the biggest hidden cost, the one that sinks most people's calculations, is the opportunity cost of your time. An online MBA isn't something you do while watching Netflix. We're talking about 15, 20, even 25 hours a week of focused high-intensity work. That's a part-time job. What could you be doing with those 20 hours? Could you be building a side hustle? Learning to code? Getting a real estate license? Spending time with your kids before they're grown? That time has a value, and while it's not a direct cash outlay, it is absolutely part of your investment. You are sacrificing something to get this degree, and you must account for it. So add it all up: the sticker price, the tech, the books, the travel, and a realistic value for your time. That's your real investment number. Now let's look at the other side of the equation, the R, the return. The most obvious return is the salary bump. This is the number everyone focuses on. You can go online, look at employment reports, and see that graduates from X university earn an average of, say, $180,000 after graduation. If you're making $100,000 now, that's an $80,000 annual return. Simple, right? Not so fast. That's an average. Are you switching into a high-paying industry like investment banking or consulting? Or are you staying in a lower-paying field like nonprofit management? Your personal outcome could be drastically different. You have to do your own research. Go on LinkedIn. Find people who graduated from the programs you're considering and now work in the roles you want. See what their career path looks like. Use sites like Glassdoor and PayScale to find realistic salary bands for your target roles in your geographic area. Get a number that is tailored to you. Once you have that estimated salary increase, you can calculate a simple payback period. If your total investment was $150,000 and your annual salary increase is $50,000, your simple payback period is 3 years. That's a tangible, easy-to-understand metric. In 3 years, the raw salary increase alone will have covered the entire cost of your degree. Everything after that is profit. For many, a 3 to 5 year payback period is the green light. But if you stop there, you're still missing the most powerful part of the equation. The true return of a top-tier MBA goes far beyond that first post-graduation paycheck. Think about signing bonuses. In many industries, especially tech and consulting, a signing bonus for an MBA hire can be $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 or more. That's a massive chunk of your investment that you can pay back instantly, dramatically shortening your payback period. Then there are stock options and equity, which could be worth nothing or could be worth more than the entire cost of the degree down the line. Next, and this is critical, is career acceleration. An MBA doesn't just get you your next job. It gets you on a completely different track. It's the difference between taking the stairs and taking an elevator. Without the MBA, you might get a 5% raise each year with a promotion every 4 years. With the MBA, you might start 2 rungs higher up the ladder and be on the director or VP track in 5 years instead of 15. The long-term compounding effect on your lifetime earnings is staggering. We're not talking about an extra $50,000 a year. We're talking about an extra $1 million or $2 million over the course of your career. And then there's the network. How do you put a price on that? It's impossible, but its value is immense. Imagine 5 years after you graduate, your company has a round of layoffs. You're panicked. But then you remember your classmate who is now a director at a competitor. You send one text message. You have an interview the next day. That's the power of the network. Or maybe you have a brilliant idea for a startup. Your first call is to a former classmate who is now a venture capitalist. Your second call is to another classmate who is a marketing genius and becomes your co-founder. This isn't a fantasy. This is how business actually gets done at the highest levels. The MBA network is a lifelong career insurance policy and a golden ticket Rolodex rolled into one. Finally, there's the return on you. The confidence you gain. The ability to walk into any room, analyze a complex business problem, and present a solution with authority. The demystification of finance, of marketing, of operations. You're not just learning facts, you're learning how to think. This newfound capability makes you better at your job, which leads to better projects, bigger promotions, and more respect from your peers. It can be the catalyst that turns a stagnant career into a dynamic one. So let's put it all together. Your ROI calculation isn't just salary tuition/tuition. It's a holistic assessment. On one side, you have your total investment, tuition, fees, tech, travel, and the value of your time. On the other side, you have your total return, the immediate salary bump, bonuses, the long-term career acceleration, the monetary value of your network, and the performance-enhancing value of the skills themselves. The simple payback period gets you in the ballpark. But the real decision comes from weighing those intangible, long-term benefits. Is it worth it to have a 3-year payback period if it means you get to switch from a job you hate to a career you love? For most people, the answer is a resounding yes. Is it worth it if it gives you the network and skills to finally launch that business you've been dreaming about for a decade? Absolutely. This isn't a math problem to be solved. It's a strategic life decision to be made. You have to look at the numbers, yes, but you also have to look in the mirror and ask, who do I want to be in 5 years? In 10 years? And is this the most effective vehicle to get me there? Because getting the calculation right is only half the battle. Making the wrong choice of program, or falling for common marketing traps, can completely torpedo your expected return before you even start. And that's where most people go wrong. So let's talk about those traps. The first and most seductive is what I call the rankings ruse. You've seen them. US News, Poets and Quants, the Financial Times. They splash these big, bold numbers on their websites. Number 1 Online MBA. Top 5 for veterans. Best in the Midwest. And we're conditioned to believe that a higher number means a better outcome. But for online programs, this is dangerously misleading. Why? Because the methodologies used to rank traditional, full-time MBA programs simply don't translate to the online world. They often weigh things like starting salaries right after graduation, which is irrelevant for the 99% of online students who are working full-time while they study. They might look at the physical campus facilities, again totally irrelevant. Some rankings are heavily influenced by how much money a school spends on advertising, or by peer assessment scores, where deans basically rank other schools they've heard of, but have no direct experience with. It's like judging a Tesla based on the quality of its exhaust pipe. The criteria don't match the product. A school can game these rankings. They can pour money into marketing to boost their brand reputation score, or they can be very selective about the data they submit. What you end up with is a list that tells you more about a school's marketing budget than its educational quality, or its ability to deliver a return on your investment. Relying solely on a #1 ranking is like picking a surgeon based on the size of their billboard. You need to look under the hood. The second trap is far more dangerous. It's the accreditation illusion. This is the single most important, non-negotiable factor you need to verify, and it's where catastrophic mistakes are made. In the United States, there are two main types of institutional accreditation: national and regional. To put it bluntly, if the online MBA program you are looking at is not from a regionally accredited university, you should close the browser tab and never look back. Let me be crystal clear. Regional accreditation is the gold standard. It's the credential recognized by virtually every employer, every state licensing board, and every other university in the country. The 6 regional accrediting bodies like the Higher Learning Commission or the Middle States Commission on Higher Education are notoriously rigorous. They scrutinize everything from faculty qualifications to financial stability to student outcomes. National accreditation, on the other hand, sounds impressive, but it's often associated with for-profit, career-focused schools. The standards are generally lower, and here's the killer. Credits from a nationally accredited institution often don't transfer to a regionally accredited one. And many employers, especially in traditional fields like finance, healthcare, and government, simply do not recognize degrees from nationally accredited schools as legitimate. You could spend $60,000 in 2 years of your life on a degree that your dream company considers completely worthless. Worse still are the diploma mills, unaccredited institutions that will give you a piece of paper for a price. They often have very official-sounding names like the American University of Management or something similar. They prey on people who don't know the difference. Your due diligence here is non-negotiable. Go to the university's website, scroll all the way down to the footer, and find their accreditation statement. It should name one of the 6 regional bodies. If it doesn't, or if it names some obscure international body you've never heard of, run. Don't walk, run. The third trap is curriculum camouflage. This is where schools use flashy, buzzword-laden course titles to mask an outdated or overly theoretical curriculum. You'll see courses like AI-driven business transformation or global strategic disruption, but when you dig in, it's just a collection of 10-year-old case studies and lectures from a tenured professor who hasn't worked outside of academia since the dot-com bubble. The value of an MBA isn't in collecting jargon. It's in developing applicable skills. You have to become an investigator. Don't just read the course list. Find the actual syllabi if you can. Look at who is teaching the classes. Are they all career academics? Or are there clinical professors and adjuncts who are currently VPs of marketing or partners at consulting firms? Who would you rather learn from about negotiating a deal? A professor who wrote a book about it, or a professor who just closed a 9-figure merger last quarter? Look for evidence of applied learning. Are there consulting projects with real companies? Are there simulations? Are there opportunities to work on a startup venture within the program? A great online MBA program isn't just a series of video lectures and multiple-choice quizzes. It's a structured environment for you to apply theory to the real-world problems you are facing at your job right now. If the curriculum feels like it could have been taught in 2005, it's not going to prepare you for 2025. So, how do you avoid these traps and systematically find a program that will actually deliver? You need a framework. I call it the 3P framework: pedagogy, people, and platform. First, pedagogy. This is the how of your education. How is the content actually delivered? The biggest difference between a cheap, low-quality online MBA and a premium, high ROI one is the split between asynchronous and synchronous learning. Asynchronous is the pre-recorded stuff you can watch anytime. It's flexible, but it's passive. Synchronous learning is live. It's scheduled classes on Zoom or a similar platform where you are engaging with the professor and your classmates in real time. You're in breakout rooms, you're debating a case study, you're presenting a project. A top-tier program will have a healthy blend of both. They use asynchronous for foundational knowledge, the lectures you can absorb on your own time, and they reserve precious synchronous time for what truly matters: interaction, debate, and collaboration. Ask the admissions office. What percentage of the program is live? How large are the live classes? A program that is 90% pre-recorded videos is not an MBA program. It's a very expensive Netflix subscription. The pedagogy determines whether you will be a passive consumer of information or an active participant in your own learning. Second, people. This is the who. Who are you learning from and who are you learning with? This is the answer to the old myth that you can't network in an online program. The faculty are part of this. We already talked about looking for practitioner scholars. But just as important is your cohort, your fellow students. These are the people who will become your network. A great program will be transparent about its class profile. What is the average work experience? What industries do they come from? What was the average GMAT score? Don't dismiss that last one. Even for schools that are test optional, the average GMAT or GRE score of the admitted class is a powerful proxy for the intellectual horsepower and ambition of your peers. You want to be challenged. You want to be in a virtual room with a marketing director from a Fortune 500, a clinical researcher from a biotech firm, and an operations manager from a major logistics company. The diversity of experience in a top online program's cohort is often far greater than in a local part-time program that draws from a single metropolitan area. These are the people who will challenge your assumptions, offer new perspectives, and ultimately become the most valuable asset you take from the degree. Finally, the third P is platform. This is the where. What is the technology that underpins the entire experience? This might seem like a minor detail, but it's not. A clunky, unintuitive, buggy learning management system is a constant source of friction. It makes it harder to find materials, harder to submit assignments, and harder to collaborate with your team. It adds a layer of cognitive load to everything you do, stealing focus away from the actual learning. A great program invests heavily in its tech stack. The platform should be seamless, integrated, and intuitive. Video lectures, live sessions, discussion boards, and group collaboration tools should all live in one place and work flawlessly on both desktop and mobile. This isn't just about convenience. A powerful and reliable platform signals that the institution takes the online experience seriously. They see it not as a cash cow afterthought, but as a flagship delivery model worthy of significant investment. So when you're evaluating a program, don't just look at the ranking or the price tag. Apply the 3P framework. Scrutinize the pedagogy, the people, and the platform. This is how you differentiate a truly transformative educational experience from a glorified content library. This is how you ensure that the massive investment of your time and money actually has a chance to pay off. Now let's say you've done all this. You've dodged the rankings ruse, you've confirmed regional accreditation, you've vetted the curriculum, and you've used the 3P framework to identify a small handful of top-tier online MBA programs that are a perfect fit for your goals. The ROI calculation is looking fantastic. There's just one problem. The acceptance rates for these programs are brutal. So how do you build an application that stands out from the thousands of other ambitious professionals you're competing against? How do you tell a story that makes the admissions committee say, "We have to have this person in our next class"? Let's start with a hard truth. The admissions committee, or ADCOM, isn't reading your application to find reasons to accept you. They're reading it to find reasons to reject you. With a mountain of applications from brilliant people, they're looking for the red flags, the inconsistencies, the generic answers that let them move your file to the no pile and get to the next one. Your job is to build a fortress, an application so cohesive, so compelling, and so authentic that there are no easy reasons to say no. It's not a collection of documents, it's a single powerful story, and you are the hero of that story. First, let's tackle the monster under the bed, the GMAT or the GRE. For many, this is the single biggest source of anxiety. It feels like your entire future rests on a 4-hour multiple-choice test. And while its importance is often overstated, it's not irrelevant. The ADCOM uses it as a quick, standardized benchmark to see if you can handle the quantitative rigor of an MBA curriculum. It answers their first question: can this person do the math? Now, you've probably seen that many top online programs are offering test waivers. This is a game changer, but you have to be strategic. A waiver isn't a free pass. If you have a 3.9 GPA and an engineering or economics degree from a top university, and a decade of experience in a highly analytical field like finance, taking a waiver is a no-brainer. Your transcript and work experience already scream quantitatively ready. But if your undergrad GPA was a 3.1 in liberal arts and your work isn't heavily math-based, a waiver can look like you're hiding something. In that case, a strong GMAT score doesn't just check a box. It actively counteracts a potential weakness in your profile. It shows you recognized a gap and put in the work to overcome it. That's a story of grit and self-awareness, and AdComs love that. My advice? Take an official practice test. Be honest with yourself about where you stand. If your score is in the ballpark for your target schools, a few months of dedicated study can get you over the line. If you're 150 points away, you need to decide if that time is better spent perfecting your essays and making a compelling case for a waiver. But the test score is just one chapter. The heart of your story is told in the essays. This is where you transform from a set of statistics into a living, breathing person. The number one mistake applicants make here is writing what they think the AdCom wants to hear. I want an MBA to pivot into consulting and make a global impact. It's generic, it's boring, and it sounds like 1,000 other essays they've already read that day. Your goal is to be memorable, and the way you do that is through specificity and vulnerability. The most common essay prompt is some version of, "Why an MBA? Why now? And why our school?" This is your origin story, your call to adventure, and your chosen destination. You need to connect the dots. Start with your past. What specific experiences have shaped your career and revealed a gap in your skill set? Don't just say, "I need better leadership skills." Tell them about the project where you struggled to align a cross-functional team, costing the company time and money, and how that frustrating experience ignited your desire to understand organizational behavior on a deeper level. Then your future. What is your specific post-MBA goal? Not just product management, but "I want to lead the product team for a B2B SaaS company focused on sustainable supply chains because I believe technology can solve." See the difference? One is a job title, the other is a mission. Finally, why our school? This cannot be a copy-paste job. You need to prove you've done the homework. Mention specific professors whose research aligns with your goals. Name a particular class like data-driven decision-making, and explain how it directly addresses the skill gap you identified earlier. Talk about a student club or an annual conference that you're excited to contribute to. You need to show them that this isn't just one of 20 schools you're applying to. It is the school that is the perfect, indispensable bridge from your past to your future. Next, your letters of recommendation. These are your supporting characters, the advocates who provide third-party validation of your story. The rookie mistake is to chase the person with the most impressive title. Getting a letter from the CEO of your company who you've met twice is far less valuable than a letter from your direct manager, who can share a detailed story about how you turned a failing project around. You need to choose recommenders who have seen you lead, succeed, and even fail. And you absolutely must prepare them. Don't just email them a link and hope for the best. You need to give them a recommender packet. This should include your finished essays, your resume, and a bulleted list of key themes you want them to touch on. Remind them of specific accomplishments. Remember that Q4 client presentation? Could you talk about how I handled the tough questions from their VP? Or, it would be great if you could highlight my work on the Project Atlas team, specifically how I mentored the junior analysts. You're not writing the letter for them. You're making it incredibly easy for them to write a fantastic, detailed letter that reinforces the narrative you're building. Now let's talk about your resume. An MBA application resume is not a job application resume. Its purpose is not just to list your duties, it's to showcase your impact. Every single bullet point should be an accomplishment, and every accomplishment should be quantified. Manage social media accounts is a task. Grew organic social media engagement by 300% over 12 months, leading to a 15% increase in web traffic and a measurable lift in sales leads, is an impact. Led with an action verb, describe the accomplishment, and end with the result, preferably with numbers, dollars, or percentages. Think of it as a one-page highlight reel of your greatest professional hits. It should scream leadership, teamwork, and analytical horsepower. Finally, the interview. For an online program, this will likely be over video. It's the final chemistry check. They've read your story, and now they want to meet the author. The key here is to be prepared, but not rehearsed. You must know your story cold. Be ready to give a compelling 2-minute pitch that answers "Tell me about yourself" and connects your past, present, and future. Prepare for behavioral questions using the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. When they ask, "Tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult team member," don't just say, "Oh, we had a disagreement, but we worked it out." No, paint a picture. In my role as project lead situation, I was tasked with launching a new software feature on a tight deadline, task. One of our senior engineers disagreed strongly with my technical approach, creating friction in the team, action. I scheduled a one-on-one meeting, listened to his concerns, and we co-created a hybrid solution that incorporated his ideas. We then presented it to the team together. Result: we hit our deadline, the feature exceeded performance targets, and that engineer became one of my strongest allies on future projects. That's an answer that demonstrates leadership, maturity, and problem solving. And remember, you are interviewing them too. Have 2 or 3 insightful questions prepared. Not things you can Google. Ask about the school's culture, the accessibility of professors for online students, or how the Career Center specifically supports remote MBA candidates. This shows you're a serious, engaged applicant who is thinking like a future student, not just someone trying to pass a test. Putting together this application is a marathon, not a sprint. Each piece, your test scores, your essays, your recommendations, your resume, and your interview must be a thread in the same tapestry. When woven together, they should tell a clear, consistent, and compelling story of a professional who knows where they've been, knows exactly where they're going, and has proven that your program is the only path to get them there. It's an immense amount of work, but the process itself is valuable. It forces you to reflect on your career and your ambitions in a way you probably never have before. But once you have that acceptance letter in hand, you face one last giant hurdle, the one that stops so many people in their tracks. How on earth are you going to pay for it? It's the 6-figure elephant in the room, the number that makes your stomach drop. For many top-tier online MBA programs, we're talking about a total cost that can rival the price of a small house in some parts of the country. $100,000, $150,000, or even more. It's an intimidating figure, designed to make you question everything. It's the final boss battle of the application journey. But just like any boss battle, it can be beaten with the right strategy. The first step is to stop thinking of it as a cost and start thinking of it as what it is: the single greatest financial investment you will ever make in yourself. You wouldn't walk up to a realtor and say, "The cost of this house is $300,000. You'd say, "The investment is $300,000. You understand that you're not just buying wood and drywall. You're buying an asset. You're buying a future, a place for your family, a cornerstone of your financial life. The price of an MBA is no different. You are purchasing an asset. It's an asset that can't be taken away in a market crash. An asset that appreciates in value every single time you use it. An asset that lives inside your own mind." So let's reframe the question. It's not how do I pay this cost? It's how do I finance this investment? And you have several powerful levers at your disposal. The first, and for many online MBA candidates the most powerful lever, is employer sponsorship. This is the secret weapon of the part-time student. Unlike a full-time student who has to quit their job, you are an active, contributing member of your company. Your new skills aren't some far-off theoretical benefit. They are an immediate, real-time upgrade to your company's human capital. You will literally be learning a concept in a virtual class on a Tuesday night and applying it to a project on Wednesday morning. That is an incredible value proposition for your employer. But they won't see it that way unless you make them. You cannot just walk into your manager's office and say, "Hey, will you pay for my MBA?" You need to build an ironclad business case. Treat it like the most important sales pitch of your life, because it is. Your proposal should meticulously detail the ROI for the company, not for you, for them. It should say, "By investing in my education and advanced financial modeling, we can improve the accuracy of our Q4 forecasting by an estimated 5%. Or, "The marketing strategy frameworks I will learn at Kellogg can be directly applied to our upcoming product launch, potentially increasing market penetration." Quantify everything. Speak their language, the language of profit, efficiency, and competitive advantage. Propose a contract where you agree to stay with the company for a certain number of years after graduation. This de-risks the investment for them. Frame it not as a gift, but as a strategic partnership that will pay dividends for years to come. Many companies have formal tuition reimbursement programs you may not even know about. Do your homework. A $30,000, $50,000, or even a $100,000 contribution from your employer completely changes the financial equation. The second lever is scholarships and fellowships. There is a pervasive myth that scholarships are only for 22-year-old, full-time students with perfect GPAs. This is completely false. Universities with top online MBA programs are competing fiercely for the best candidates, and they use scholarships as a key recruiting tool. They have funds specifically earmarked for online and executive students. They have scholarships for women in business, for underrepresented minorities, for veterans, for people in the nonprofit sector, for entrepreneurs. Your job is to hunt them down. Go to each school's financial aid website and dig. But more importantly, understand what these scholarships are really about. They're about your story. The application essay for a scholarship is not a time to be humble. It's a time to articulate your unique journey, your vision, and why you are a uniquely valuable addition to their program. It's about connecting your past experiences to your future ambitions and explaining how their program is the indispensable bridge. A well-crafted story can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. Do not leave that money on the table. The third lever, and the one most people use in some capacity, is strategic borrowing. I use the word strategic for a reason. Not all debt is created equal. There's a world of difference between credit card debt for a vacation and an educational loan to increase your earning power. Your first stop should always be federal loans, which you apply for through the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. Yes, even for a graduate degree. Federal loans typically offer more borrower protections, fixed interest rates, and income-driven repayment options that private loans don't. Only after you have exhausted your federal loan options should you begin to look at private lenders. But when you do shop around, treat it like getting a mortgage. Get quotes from multiple banks and credit unions. Compare interest rates, origination fees, and repayment terms. Remember the numbers we talked about earlier, that massive jump in post-MBA salary. You are borrowing against that future, higher-earning self. It's a calculated risk, but if you've done your homework and chosen a reputable program with a strong track record of career outcomes, it's one of the safest bets you can make. Finally, there's a fourth, often overlooked advantage unique to the online format: cash flow. Unlike a full-time program where you often have to pay massive tuition bills in lump sums while earning zero income, most online programs allow you to pay as you go. You pay per semester or sometimes even per course. Because you're still earning your full-time salary, you can dedicate a portion of your monthly income directly to tuition. This slow burn approach dramatically reduces the amount you need to borrow. You can create a budget, tighten your belt for 2 or 3 years, and cash flow a significant portion of your degree. It requires discipline, but it empowers you to control your debt load in a way that's simply impossible for on-campus students. So when we put it all together, a solid business case for employer sponsorship, a targeted hunt for scholarships, a smart strategy for federal and private loans, and a disciplined plan to pay as you go, that terrifying six-figure number starts to look much more manageable. It transforms from an insurmountable wall into a series of strategic steps. And that brings us back to the ultimate question we've been exploring through this entire series. After all the analysis, the pros and cons, the number crunching, and the soul searching, is an online MBA from a US university worth it? The truth is, the degree itself isn't worth anything. It's a piece of paper. The lectures, the case studies, the network, they are just potential energy. They are a toolkit. A brand new, top-of-the-line, professional-grade toolkit. But a toolkit sitting in a garage builds nothing. Its value is only realized when you pick it up and use it. The worth of an MBA is not determined by the school, the ranking, or the tuition. It is determined by you. It's worth it if you're the person who shows up to every virtual class prepared to challenge the professor. It's worth it if you're the one who reaches out to your classmates in different industries to set up a virtual coffee chat, just to learn what they do. It's worth it if you take the insights from your strategy class and build a proposal that gets you noticed by senior leadership at your company. It's worth it if you leverage the Career Services Office to completely revamp your resume and practice your interviewing skills until they are flawless. It's worth it if you use the confidence you've gained to finally ask for that promotion, negotiate a 30% raise, or take the leap and start your own company. The program doesn't hand you success. It hands you leverage. It gives you the tools, the network, and the credibility to create your own success on a scale that was previously out of reach. It is an accelerator. It takes the ambition, the talent, and the work ethic you already have, and it multiplies their impact. So, the question is not whether an online MBA is worth it. A better question is, are you willing to do the work to make it worth it? Are you ready to be challenged, to be pushed out of your comfort zone, and to fundamentally change the trajectory of your professional life? Are you ready to invest in yourself? Because if the answer to those questions is yes, then it's not just worth it. It might just be the best decision you ever make.